I believe I hit 160 before I heard it fall off. My first ever boyfriend, I was like 15 years old. He had this like piece of junk Mark II Volkswagen Jetta, and he would just do all this crazy stuff to it. Like we would do like the headliner in a different fabric, or we would, you know, put suspension on it to make it stupid low. And I wanted to do something to my own car. So my dad, when I was really young, he bought me a Miata so I could learn how to drive in my field. I just started doing things to my Miata. You know, I put stupid little racing stripes on it and stuff, and then I just started going on forums and learning how to, you know, change out the soft top or electric windows instead of the crank windows, stuff like that. So even before I had my license, I was doing stuff like that. And then as soon as I got my license, I started driving around like it was over. I started going to a local car show, and one of the sponsors of the car show is actually a paint shop. So he was like, "Hey, you know, I want to sponsor you. I want you to paint your car, whatever color you want." And I was like, "All right, great. I want to paint it pink." And that kind of stuck since then. So I had the Miata forever, for like 9 years. And then I finally got to a point where I had dogs. I was in the Army. And I was like, all right, I can't be driving this Miata around anymore. So I bought an Evo, second best thing to a GT-R, like, let's be honest. So I bought an Evo 10. I swore that I would never mod it. But of course, we all say that. And then I ended up going full bolt-ons, and it ran on ethanol. It was a lot of fun. I had that car. I drove it for 100,000 miles, and then I traded in when I got the GT-R. So it was sad to see it go. I love that car. The Evo is so much fun, but yep. We had to move on. It was time, GT-R time. So David Eisen, the organizer of Lux Rally, he's really the one that helped me find the GT-R and get it for the right price. We took the Evo down. I was going to trade the Evo in for the GT-R. We drove from DC to Charlotte. The car was hideous. It was so ugly. I mean, it was the ugliest GT-R I've ever seen. The guy who owned it before, he night shaded the headlights and taillights. Like, he color matched the side skirts all white, and it was just so hideous. The wheels were white. It was gross. But I mean, I used that, you know, as a point to try to like knock the price down. It had a couple mechanical issues, but like I said, I had Baker Performance back home to take care of me, so I wasn't that concerned. We could always fix it. We ended up walking out of there with a steal for this GT-R. We drove straight from the dealer. We went up into the mountains in West Virginia, and we enjoyed the weekend, and then I took her home. Made her less ugly, and gave her a nice bath, and as soon as I got it, I just drove it like every day. It was a dream car for me. I wanted it, you know, since they came out, like since I was a kid, and I never thought I'd really be able to have one, let alone, you know, soup it up and make it mine. When I bought it, it was a really big deal for me. And my shop, Baker Performance, they took really good care of me. We went full bolt-ons, so I made a little bit more juice. And I've been driving it ever since. I think I put 46,000 miles on it in the last year. Yeah, I just rolled over 69,000 now. I believe I did 6 rallies this year and a ton of drag race events. So it was just kind of a mix of both. Distinct Wraps in Gaithersburg, Maryland did my wrap. They did a really good job. It was super hard just because it had to be so many different pieces, because you can't really warp, you can't stretch the material or else it'll warp the chrome effect. So after that, I drove it straight to Maryland Auto Spa, and they ceramic coated the car, and that's what saved it, honestly. Because I drive so much, it's really hard to maintain. So with the ceramic coating, everything just flies off. I've had to at least put 15,000 miles on the car with the wrap, so it holds up great. I mean, it just rolls right off. The only problem I have is the rear bumper, just because exhaust fumes, stuff like that. So I've done 2 Lux rallies, Centurion Run twice, which is a charity rally, and that's always a great time. I did just the first day of Gold Rush. I just followed along just to see how it was. I have done iDrive Rally. That's kind of like a local rally, and it's more of like a driver's rally than like a luxury kind of style rally. And that's the beautiful part about rallies. There's so many different ones. So like on Lux Rally, it's more about the luxury and the finer things and the food and the nightlife, and that's a lot of fun. On the last Lux Rally, it was the Colonial Rally, so we started in DC. That was right after I did the wrap on the car. And I actually put the car back together myself, so this is completely my fault. We were driving out of DC, and I think we made it to Baltimore, and I hit some high speeds, and the front lip didn't like that, and the front lip fell off the car on the highway. It was just terrible. So I pulled off to the side, and the front lip was too big to fit in the car with a passenger, and it was a nightmare. But the G. Smith brothers, who sponsored the rally, they stopped their big tractor trailer truck and they loaded it up for me, and I got to get to the next stop, and they actually put my car on the trailer and tried to reinstall it, but I'd broken it pretty good, so I finished the rest of the rally without it. So my next rally is kind of butting heads with GT-R World Cup, but it's going to be Lux Rally, Mardi Gras, which I went to last year, and I had a blast, the time of my life. So hopefully I'll be able to make both events, but we'll see. So Florida 2K, it's just a big drag racing event, taking a little bit of a different approach. Everyone really trailered their cars down, but I just wanted to drive. So I took off on Tuesday night after work. I just wrapped everything up, went to the shop, did an oil change, the guys took care of me, made sure I was all set, and I drove down. It was about 1,000 miles, so I just drove through the night. I went to the track on Thursday, and I looked under the car, just checking stuff out, and there was some cord showing on my tires, so I guess I had a bad alignment, and I was like, damn, I just drove all the way down here, I can't race now, obviously I can't take it down the strip. But all the GT-R guys there are so supportive, and it only took 5 minutes, and I had a bunch of friends just rolling out slicks for me to just throw in the car. So I ended up running slicks on Thursday, Friday, and got some really good numbers, especially for a full bolt-on car. My tuner, Sam Barros, he actually flew out from Michigan just to come tune the car, and it was on Friday, and I needed to make the passes before the track closed, and he got there a little late. And he got in the car right away, and he just took off for a little while, and I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm just gonna go walk around. I think he only made 5 passes, and it took him maybe less than an hour, and he tuned the car, and it ran great. I mean, amazing. So we ended up running a 10-3 pass at 131, which is pretty good, especially down in the south. My trap speed is usually, lower when it's hot like this, so it's fun. But it was crazy fun, especially running on the setup like that. We had roll racing on Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday we had bracket racing and drag racing. So I think we had 4 or 5 different classes. We actually had a GT-R only class that was tossed in the last minute, so it was a lot of fun. There were a lot of grudge races, and the vibes were really good. Before, it was at PBIR in West Palm Beach, but now we're at Bradenton Motorsports Park, so the track prep was insane. They did a great job there. Everyone was, running personal bests all weekend long. It was awesome. The best race was a grudge match against Mike with Ivy Tune and PJ. I'm not sure exactly where PJ's car falls in, but that pass was incredible. I believe PJ's car ran a 8.0, and Mike's car ran a 7.9, both somewhere in the 170s. And it was so close. I mean, it was insane. But that was definitely a grudge match that everyone's been wanting to see for a long time, so it was pretty cool. Interestingly enough, in the 1050 index that I was running, the last 4 people were all women. So me and 3 other girls, and we just knocked out all the guys, and then we ended up, taking home the first, second, and third place. So it was awesome. That was just crazy to me because this car, I drive it everywhere, and no one else drove down 1,000 miles to race to drive 1,000 miles back. So it was kind of a little scary, just because if I broke anything, I mean, how was I going to get home? I was going to have to fly or something, leave the car there, but she performed super well. Some guys really don't like to be beat by girls, especially girls in bright pink GT-Rs. So most of them are pretty humble though, and they'll come back up and say, hey, good race, stuff like that. But it's definitely funny. People come up to me before we race and they'd be like, oh, I'll get made fun of if I lose to you. I'm like, sorry about your luck, man.
I'd like to thank the guys at Avalon King for supporting the channel this month. If you want to try it out yourself, there's a link in the description below.